Hello, this is part 3, the final part of the OPTIWOOD project, data results and conclusions. And we're looking now at the final 2 pilot projects, 4 and 5, and also drawing some general conclusions about the way forward and the impact of this project. This was an interesting project, a large boiler, 900 kilowatt boiler, providing heat for a set of greenhouses, some of which had been turned into a retail operation. There were a number of problems with the boiler. First of all, the size of the boiler was too big for the heat load, and this reflected the fact that the heat load had dropped over the 3 years since the boiler was introduced as a result of changes within the business, within the company itself. Although it's 900 kilowatts, it could easily have been designed as a 400-500 kilowatt boiler. The net result of that is there's a lot of cycling, a lot of off and on going on with this boiler, which obviously is not particularly efficient. The biomass boilers like to be run hard and run consistently. And we found an additional thing, which was that the buffer tank, which is meant to be stored internally where there's a large body of hot water to control the flow of that hot water into the buildings, was outside, and the insulation was deteriorating, and as a result of that you were losing a lot of heat from that large body of water sitting outside. So clearly a number of action plans on there, and we've as part of that put in meters, clock meters that will put time delays when the boiler comes on to try and increase the overall heat load and reduce the amount of cycling, and then other measures to reduce the heat losses from the buffer tank out there. The combination of those two, we think, could probably save somewhere between 5 and 7% on the overall heating bill and the use of wood fuel for there. Case study 5 is a secondary school, an academy school, which has had a wood heating boiler since 2013 and is part of the Renewable Heat Incentive Scheme. This boiler, in its first 3 or 4 years of existence, had a pretty checkered history, a lot of problems, a lot of downtime, a lot of spares and repairs. Significant changes occurred as a result of changes in management, a new green advisor in the school, and secondly, the appointment of an operator looking after this boiler amongst a number of other boilers with the local authority. He actually took a really keen interest, and from that point things have improved dramatically. When we came in with the initial data logging, we discovered that the boiler was running pretty well overall. It doesn't have a buffer tank, but it has a large community swimming pool which acts as a large body of water to allow the fluctuation of demand from the boiler to be modulated. And overall we were looking at around 76–77% efficiency for the boiler, which is pretty good. We did discover, however, with the data logging that there were some minor issues which were causing problems. This particular boiler has roll-on, roll-off. It's called a hook bin fuel silo, which allows the fuel to be moved in and out with 30 cubic meters in the hook bin. And what we discovered was that under certain weather conditions, when the rain blew from a certain direction, water seeped in to actually soak the wood chip as it travelled from those hook bins into the boiler. And the end result of that was lots of clinkering and downtime as the operator had to shut down the boiler and rake out a lot of the clinkering. The solution, after we'd had discussions with the operators, management and local engineers, was an expenditure of around about £1,200, putting in a weatherproof flap on the end to stop water seeping in there. And as a result of that, there will be less downtime during wet weather. But overall, this boiler, what we've identified is 2 things. One, when you have a good operator who's well trained and knowledgeable, it makes a huge difference in how long that boiler operates for and how efficient it is. Love your boiler, the operator said to us when the first time we met with him, and that was very clear on there. And as a result of his enthusiasm, we have actually used him as a mentor for some of the other operators. And the second thing is, detail really matters. Yes, there's some big issues. If you don't get the controls right, if the size of the boiler is incorrect, and you've got some design issues and the fuel isn't appropriate for the boiler, you're going to have problems. But even with well operating boilers, what OPTIWOOD has showed with the data logging and the assessment afterwards is that small issues can make a difference. And as a result of that, even this is probably the best performing boiler out of all of the 5 case studies, we were able to identify another 3–4% of savings as a result of pretty modest expenditure. Overall, OPTIWOOD has been successful. From the 5 case studies and from the other 7 case studies and pilot projects in France, we've identified savings of between 5% and 40%, which is pretty impressive. And what at the end of the day that means is it saves a lot of money for the client. Secondly, it means the boiler operates for longer. Thirdly, it means there's less wear and tear, less expenditure on additional spares which are not necessary because the boilers are being really looked after. What it also identifies is the key role of an engaged management and also a well-trained set of operators who really get to know their boiler and pick up issues before they become big issues. And as a result of that, I think this experience can be disseminated to a lot of other boiler operators, boiler managers and owners, etc. So I think overall what it says is a low-cost data monitoring system works. It's a powerful tool. The data, the graphs that are produced on there over a month, 6 weeks or longer really identify key issues which wouldn't be possible simply on a half day spent with a service engineer trying to identify some of the problems. It really shows what's actually going on with that boiler and points the way with a skilled engineer analysing the graphs there to really getting to the bottom and solving a lot of these sometimes very niggly issues as well as some very big issues, and really ensuring that biomass boilers really perform properly.